Good morning and welcome back to the channel. My name is Duru. I'm a design and building consultant here in Perth, Western Australia. Today, I'm going to show you how I design small homes. This is someone that I'm actually working with at the moment. They have a smaller lot in Perth. It's 250 square meters. So this is the lot that we have on our left-hand side here. So whenever we are designing a home, we have to start with the block, okay? Because the block is going to give us our parameters. We have to design accordingly to the block, and we first of all need to look at the limitations that we have. So this one is a really good example because there are quite a few lot limitations. So first of all, we can see this box with an X through it. So this is a designated garage location. This means that the garage has to go here. We do not have an option. The next thing is we've got this blue dot. So this blue dot is representative of a bushfire upgrade allowance. So it's called bushfire attack level. This one has a BAL 12.5. So it means that we have to provide sufficient funds to upgrade the home to make it more bushfire proof. The next thing we can see is this retaining wall. So this retaining wall we have running along the right-hand side. This is going to come into play a little bit later on. So it's important to note where the retaining walls are on our lot, because this one, it's on our side of the boundary. Then we're looking at the orientation of the lot. So we've got north on this side, we have east on this side, and then we have south on this side. So it is a 250 square meter lot, 12.5 meters wide and 20 meters deep. So that is our lot limitation. So that's one of our first parameters that we are looking at. The next is our budget. So we have a budget of less than $400,000 for the complete build. So this is going to include all of our site costs, all of our upgrades, everything we need to get this home pretty much ready to live in. Last but not least, because of the estate's location, this lot has no gas. That means that all of the appliances must be upgraded to electric. Our hot water unit has to be upgraded to electric. Our stove has to be upgraded, and we don't have the option for standard gas appliances. So this is another cost that the customer has to wear. Now that we know all of the lot limitations, let's move on to design. So first of all, they said that they like the Lisbon design. So that is the design that we have on the right-hand side here. So this is a standard home group floor plan, and we will be using this as the base model of our design. However, some of the must-haves in the design include scullery for a coffee station. Solar panels must be upgraded. The standard inclusions are 3.3 kilowatts. One of the customers has a couch that he loves dearly. It is 3 meters wide and 1.2 meters deep, and it has to fit into the home. We have to have a doggy door in the laundry. There must be access to the backyard from the garage. We would like to have a water point for the fridge, a 1200 millimeter wide front entry door, a glass door to the laundry for the dogs, nice kitchen and bathroom, full height tiling with mitered edges to the ensuite, black single course feature brick with white mortar to the front facade, and brushed metal tapware throughout. So we have our block, we have our budget of under 400K, we have our design brief. Let's get stuck into this design. So starting with our Lisbon here on the right-hand side, you can see that a few of the elements are already going to be really difficult to achieve, namely the access point to the backyard from the garage. So you can imagine this wall here, this is on the boundary. So we can't put a door on this left-hand side because that's the neighbor's lot, and there is nowhere else for us to actually put an access point for the garage into the backyard. That is the first downfall of this design and why it doesn't really suit. The next problem that we have is we do not even have a sliding door to the laundry. So the laundry has a window, can't really access the backyard to hang your clothes up from a window, and we can't put a doggy door on that window either because we've got the washing machine in the way. So that is another issue. The ensuite is quite small, and overall the design in terms of its ceiling heights are a little bit lacking, so we're going to go through that to start. So in a lot of the designs that you see in Perth, and this is why a lot of house and land package guys get flack for the homes that they're building, is because they simply take this design, they plonk it on the lot, and that's it. No changes, and away you go. So this is where I come into play a little bit more, and I try to put in more detail and more effort regardless of my client's budget. I try to optimize the plan for what they're trying to achieve. So revision 1, the first thing we're going to do is we need to create space to have an access point to the garage. We flipped our family dining kitchen scullery area. So you can see I've put that on the boundary, and we've now got that access point to the garage from the backyard. The only negative of doing this is we've got our western side on this side. So originally this was optimal for solar passive design. We've got our utilities on the west, and we've got our fresco in the northeast corner, which is optimal. And then we've potentially going to have our windows facing east. This is optimal. However, we are not able to achieve everything. So you have to choose, do we want optimal passive design, or do we want more functional living for our family? So in this case, we had to sacrifice optimal lighting and passive design to create a more functional floor plan. So that's what we've done here. So the bottom section of the home has stayed relatively the same. We've flipped the family dining kitchen scullery area, and we've also increased the size of the ensuite by compromising on the walk-in robe. So in small designs, I think it's really important to be able to compromise, because if you don't compromise on certain elements, you're not going to be able to achieve other things that you're wanting to achieve. Other changes that you're going to notice, we've got 28 course garage ceiling height, which is the minimum I would recommend for anyone, because a lot of the standard plans are 25. We've upgraded the door to a 1200 millimeter wide door. The entryway is still 28 courses. We have a 28 course ceiling height to the porch, which is the minimum that I'd recommend. We've been able to maintain the kitchen configuration along with the scullery, and now we have our sliding door to the backyard. So you can see we've achieved quite a lot with this first revision. We can put a doggy door on the laundry. They can walk the perimeter of the home on the backyard side. Another point that was made to me in our initial design brief was that they wanted to limit the accessibility to the home. So having a boundary wall or a zero lot wall on both sides of the home means that it's not easy to access, and we can have our gate on this side and bin store on this side. There is one other thing that is going to be a little bit costly. When we have a budget of less than 400K for a complete build, where we do have to have upgrades for bowel and electrical appliances, and we still want to make the house quite nice, we have this meter box wall. So this meter box wall is a rendered brick wall that is going to be built up, and then the meter box will be put on it. And this is costly. It's about $2,500. And the reason why it's simply not on this wall over here is because of that retaining wall. So I did say it was going to come into play. The retaining wall is on our side, and you can see that we have less than 1,000 millimeters between the retaining wall and where the meter box would normally go. So we can't actually put the meter box on this wall anymore because the trenches would undermine the retaining wall. So as a standard, Home Group will build out this meter box wall. The issue that I have with this is that it is an additional cost. If I didn't really care too much and I just wanted to get on with it, I would just say, look, it is what it is, but every single dollar counts. So I thought, all right, how do we save a bit of money here and get rid of this meter box wall? That's one of the things I wanted to look at. Number two is I want to get rid of the brick lintel here. So you can see it says BWK at 25C. We want to increase the entry height to 31. We want to be able to increase the passageway a little bit. And also remember, we had that couch that we are going to put in the family room. That is a big couch. So what I would do is I would draw the couch in here, and you'll notice that having that big couch here and having the TV here, we are very limited on space. Then we have to walk through the home, walk behind the couch, walk into the bedroom. It's not ideal at all. So we have a lot of wasted space for passageways. We want to eliminate that. And then on the right-hand side here, we want to try and increase glazing as much as possible because our source of light is going to be mainly through this section of the home and this section of the home. So trying to open this up as much as we can is super important. So this is the first revision that we had done. Let's have a look at the difference between revision 1 and revision 2. Okay, so we've got our revision 1 on the left-hand side and we've got revision 2 on the right-hand side. So the first thing you're going to notice is that I've moved the entry door for bed 1. So not only does this mean that I can have the couch up against this wall here, it means that I don't need to walk behind the couch, and I've got this channel of walkway that is going to be used for many things. We can use it to walk to the bedroom. We can use it to walk to the alfresco sliding door. It's a multi-purpose channel of passage. Couch can go here, TV can go here, much more functional use of space. So that's the first change. The next change is this door can now be recessed slightly, so it's a little bit more private. I've drawn in a king size bed with bedside tables. Above it, we have one 3-meter highlight window. This really helps furnish the room well. And then the ensuite. We've swapped the location of the shower recess with the WC. We've now got a 6-course highlight window in the shower recess. I've made the shower recess bigger, and we also have a fixed panel window behind the WC. Really important to note the way that the door opens, so it is keeping the WC private and it opens onto the double vanity and the shower recess. So this works really well, and I've also increased the depth of this room to 1950 millimeters, which is the minimum that we want to have. Now I'm happy with this space. It's functional, it works well, it fits in everything that we need. Also, the family dining works well. We've got our 31-course ceilings throughout. It's going to feel really open. And then the next upgrade we have is this sliding door. So in the initial revision, we had a 1710 millimeter wide sliding door, along with this very unsightly 14-course sliding window here. So I've joined the two together so that we've got two large panels of 1200 millimeter wide glass. This is going to let in a lot of natural light, and it's going to look really neat compared to what this is. So those are the first few changes for revision 2. Moving down to the garage side, we're swinging the door the other way. So a lot of the time you come home, the first thing you're going to need to get to is probably either going to be the kitchen or your own room. So we have the door swinging open into the passageway, so this is made easier. And of course, this is a very small garage. So we want to make sure that we are using space where we have it. We might not have it in the garage, but we probably can get away with having it swing out into the corridor. So that's the change that we've made there. Also, we've increased the ceiling height to 31, which allows us to get rid of this brick lintel that we had in revision 1, which I think is great. Now, the last thing I've done here before moving on to the laundry is I've been able to delete this meter box wall by recessing the meter box onto the garage wall here. So you can see there is the little bit of a lip on this brickwork here. This hides our meter box. Now we don't have to spend anywhere near as much money. It'll be a very minor cost to have this built onto this wall rather than building a brand new wall on this side. So we've saved essentially $2,500, which when your budget is $400K is very, very important. And then last but not least, I've got the door moved down. So we've got this linen shelves here. I've moved the door down, made the laundry a little bit bigger, and then that way we don't have open shelves visible from our scullery. Those are all of the revisions I've made so far. So that's what I've covered in 2 revisions. So you can see the difference between just plonking on a standard plan and even doing 1 revision with some upgrades versus spending the time to do 2 revisions. This is a very, very limited space to achieve absolutely everything on that wish list, but we've managed to do it. So we've got that front facade with a single course feature brick, which was requested. We are able to keep everything on the plan without having to compromise on really too much. My favorite part about this job is when I get to not only achieve 90 to 95% of every single item on that wish list, but also doing it within budget. All of our bowel upgrades, site costs, electrical appliances, high ceilings, air conditioning, flooring, blinds, ensuite full height tiling, the double vanity in the ensuite, semi-frameless hobless shower screens, all of these upgrades fit within that $400K budget. If you're wondering, we're in June 2026. That gives you a bit of an idea of what is possible in today's market. I think that covers today's show on how to design a small home. If you've got any questions about my process or about this design, let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.